What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Logic Bomb Podcast, episode 18. And in front of us, we have the man responsible for the house rework, Jeremy Dowsett. How are you doing, Jeremy?
I'm very good, sir. It's great to see your beautiful faces. I hope you're all keeping safe in these weird times.
Well, thanks for joining us from your workshop there. I think we're doing all right, and it looks like you're having some fun there as well. For anybody who's not familiar with Jeremy, he is senior level designer with Rainbow Six Siege, and he was one of the main driving forces behind the house rework. So we're gonna pick his brain about that map today, and maybe even ask some questions about some of the other maps you've worked on, as far as Canal rework, Villa. This man is responsible for some of your favorite maps in the game. So with that said, it'll probably mostly be about house rework today. And I guess let's start out here just by introducing yourself, Jeremy, and tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up creating maps for Rainbow Six Siege?
Ooh, that's a long story. So I'm a senior level designer for Rainbow Six. I've been with Ubisoft for almost 10 years now. I've worked on a bunch of different brands other than Rainbow Six, Assassins, Far Cry, and some other things. I came here from England a long time ago. If people aren't aware, I've been doing this for over 20 years. So I've worked for a bunch of different companies. But I moved to Montreal in 2004, jumped around, got onto Rainbow Six, and found my home, basically. It's one of the first projects, other than a few that I can name, where I'm actually very comfortable. I'm very happy. I love the gameplay of the game. I love the community. I obviously love coming and talking to people like you. So I've found a weird little family, and it's great because the Rainbow Six Siege team in Montreal is a big family. So it's I'm comfortable and I enjoy it. So it's super fun.
All right. Okay. So, casual rework. Tell us about the casual rework. What was the decision-making process of going for a casual rework, and what does it mean? What does that mean to the players?
I guess there's been a little bit of confusion from the community with the moniker casual rework. The casual community is a large, massive part of the community for Rainbow Six. So, we always do these, competitive reworks, and I'm not saying that house isn't competitive in any way, shape, or form, but we have different playlists now, and we have different things coming, so it was a bit of time to go make something that was more fun than sweaty palms like you sometimes do in ranked. So house is one of those maps that when it was first built was kind of a testing ground for a lot of the mechanics. It was the first map, and there were things that were broken. And like I always say, season to season, map to map, we always learn. And it seemed like a good time to actually go through and give House a bit of love. It really deserved, some work being done to it. So the casual community and the unranked playlist, wherever the map ends up, gets something that's new and fresh, rather than going through and trying to make it pro league friendly. And I'll be honest, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If we did make it competitive, the map would have to be bigger, and then people would complain that we weren't. It's another competitive rework. So I wouldn't say you can't win, but you can't make everyone happy all the time. So it's a casual rework, and it is casual. You guys have played it. It's a whole bunch of fun. It's a lot less serious than other maps. Now, saying that, we have gone through and everything is balanced, and the difference between making a map casual and ranked is absolutely zero. It's exactly the same. I'm still checking the angles. All of the work we put into a ranked map and a competitive map, it's exactly the same amount of work that goes into a casual rework. So
the size was a big factor then. The actual, just the scale of house was such a big factor in determining it couldn't really be a ranked or competitive map.
Yeah, when we look at it, if we made it bigger, then obviously it would slip into being a ranked map much easier. But when you go through, add, the third set of stairs, sorry, that goes from a reading room down into the little annex towards TV, add the rotation, add the hallway, move some things around, shut down a lot of the windows because it was like a glass house. There were so many windows on that building. You go through and you do that, it starts to balance itself. And then you move the bomb sites around, add another bomb site, obviously, and go through. So it's a lot of work, but it was an awful lot of fun, but also a lot of pressure to go and play with something that everyone knows. Everyone uses their warm-up map for Terror Hunt normally. And, you don't want to break T-Hunt for everyone for their warm-up. So, there's, like the last map, Canal, there was pressure with that because the assistant design director, Jacques Wong, was the original designer of that. So, there's a little bit of added pressure there because you're playing with one of your teammates, babies.
Right.
This one, I know a lot of people use it for warm-up, and I know a lot of people have a soft spot in their hearts for it. They all really like House, and it's quite polarizing because some of the people I play with, they're like, I'm going to really miss old House. And then they play old House and they go, no, I don't miss it. But now they're playing, now they're playing the new House. It's like the original Hereford. Everyone goes, I really miss the original Hereford. And then they go play the bomb site in the basement. They're like, nope, don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for it. So it's funny. Like, it's always a lot of mixed emotions. So it's interesting. The feedback that I've received from you guys, from YouTube, and I watch a lot of YouTube when stuff comes out from the team. It's been overwhelmingly good. I haven't seen much negative, so I feel that we've done a good job.
I will say that it took me over an hour and 20 minutes to destroy everything on that map when we got access to it. So you at least did a good job in making it take a while. Everything is destructible. I love it. But I've played I've played a Pro League map of House, old one, right? Like all the way back in year one, and it being the E3 trailer map and everything, it's got to be fairly hard to still keep the theme and make sure that everyone still knows that it's House and it just doesn't become its own new map, right?
There were a few, let's go hiccups along the way, because when you're going through and you're playing with a map, construction obviously went to pink, and we did actually have a point where the walk-in closet kind of extended a little bit more over the lobby, and as soon as we did that, and I knew when we were doing it, it wasn't going to stick, but you want to try everything, so we went through, we made the lobby much smaller. And as soon as you went in, it just didn't feel like House. Like from the playtest, everyone's like, this isn't House anymore. So that gets changed back, another day's worth of work, pushing walls back to where they were. And it's hard because you want to keep the flavor. Now, Canal in that kind of vein was easy to do because it's Canal, couple of extra rooms, extra stairs. It still feels like Canal, and even though it got a fresh coat of paint, it still looks like Canal, and it still plays like Canal. It's still got the bridges. House, you could very easily mess up that formula and the feeling of House. Same thing, say, if you took Favela. Doing
but that would be a good thing in the case of Favela.
Yeah, well, that's why that's why I said it, because I knew you guys were going to be like, yeah, but it wouldn't be bad. Break it. Okay, fine. But yeah, you need to be. It's a very fine line to walk when you touch something like this, because if you adding 4 more rooms and a set of stairs, people aren't calling it a house anymore. They're calling it a mansion. Whereas if you saw from the reveal, I'm like, hey. They've actually finished their renovations. They've done an extension, had another kid, and they made the treehouse dangerous. So it's 4 years on. So you could perceive from a storytelling point of view that is the story behind House. They put an extension on their house, and
who lives there?
I don't know. But I don't know, but they don't use the bathroom very much. Let's put it that way.
Pulse and Habana live there. That's why everything's soft, because Pulse can nitro cell every floor.
Yeah, gotcha.
But even the size of the rooms that got added and the balconies and everything else, that was a constant back and forth, playing with the sizes, playing with the access to it, because you can make it too big and you can make it start feeling a bit silly. But I feel that we walked that line very well, and we got it to a point where it's a comfortable size and it's fun. And the most important thing is it's fun. And that's, people always ask the question, do you design for operators? No. You want it to be balanced and you want it to be fun, because you want people to come back and play the map time and time again.
To those that haven't played it, it's basically, I estimate, about a third bigger. Because you've got the reading room, TV room, playroom. It's like an extra sort of third if you look at it from the top down, floor space wise, I suppose. And then you've got the porches and balconies and stuff like that added too.
Yeah, if you take the I guess if you take the overall square footage, and I haven't actually done this, normally I do, but I haven't. But I guess if you take the overall square footage of what's changed, then yes, it's close to a third. Maybe not as much as a third, but it is pretty close to a third. But spawns have moved, things have changed. Lots of soft floors, which is super fun, especially if you're defending garage, because when I say fun and balanced, you have to, everyone remembers garage. There's only one garage door, and there's no boat anymore because we had to move it. But
I was hoping they had a new purple top.
They had another kid. They had to sell the boat.
Oh no,
it's out on the road now.
The boat's parked in the side street. Yeah, it's still there. Don't worry, we just moved it. But you look at it, it's garage still plays like garage if you want to play it like garage. But you can play it so many different ways now because of the soft floors, because of the piece of line of sight floor just above garage door to help defend. I think that. House used to be the quintessential plant smoke, right? That's how people used to play it, especially garage. They used to stick outside. Now you kind of have to get in. You have to clear the roamers. So it is, more of an inside map than a stay back outside map. Now people will still try and play it like that, which is fine. But over time, I think people will learn that, you want to clear the floors. You want to clear the roamers. You want to really play this a little bit more seriously.
That shelf in the garage, it changes everything for me down there. Like that little side area. You know what I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah.
But for the viewers, like in the garage, like you can only open one of the garage. Only one of the garage doors is now breachable.
Yeah.
And the one that is breachable has like a shelving area to the side of it, and you can create a rotate from the workout room and come into that shelving area, and it really it changes everything there. You can, as a defender, be pretty safe there. I've seen people set up shields there, which is also really strong. I mean, obviously the floor above you is soft, as you were mentioning, but that really changes that whole site for me.
You're talking about the storage shelf with the kayaks on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's two things I feel that change garage. One is the fact that there's a doorway plus a small little corridor plus shelves in front of it, so you have to come in, and there's a zone where you can't plant until you actually get into the site, so you have to get in through that, and it's all soft above it, so you can be easily countered if someone plants there. Plus, yes, that little shelving wall with the kayaks and bikes on it. Rotate in the corner. You can rotate. I put the rotate on either side because there's a 90 wall there as well. This is going to really annoy me. I keep hitting it. So yeah, you've got that corner there, but we also do a rotate off on the 90 as well, because you can reinforce the wall and have a nice little kind of come through and peek. So I'm always interested to see how people are going to play stuff that the team has worked on, because sometimes, there's obviously an intention to everything, trying to keep it balanced, but it's surprising what the community will actually do with a map and what they will do with it, because they will think of something, that run out onto the boat before, I was like, this is fine. And it was just a fine edge where you could get down but not out. You could get hit and whatever, and then you completely forget that Doc can just res himself and then just nail everyone coming up the side of the house. It's like, right, okay, we either put the house on stilts now to make sure everyone dies, or the boat needs to go bye-bye. So the boat had to move. But, it's stuff you don't think about. And that was day one of the test server.
One of the things I sort of feel about this new house map, I mean, you talk about the old one being the quintessential Rainbow Six Siege map, but this one is far less frustrating. That extra floor space, the extra stairs, blocking off those entrances to the lobby, just makes you feel like you're not fish being shot in the barrel when you're playing on defense. You've got a little bit more leeway to move around. How much did that play into your mindset when changing house?
Almost 100%.
Yeah.
It was, to make it more comfortable. You could always make something smaller, right? You can make anything smaller, but the problem is with smaller is, with the speed of operators, you need floor space. And I think that, old house was below the minimum floor space that you actually really need to, for everyone to move around and have their roles and play well. I think now the new house with, that little bit of extra floor space, it's a little bit cleaner, it's easier to navigate, it's less frustrations, like you said. I feel it's a good size of a map for sure.
And you're not getting pinged from outside all the time. Like, sorry, Zoronic, like the slatted window and just removing stuff like that. You can actually walk 6 feet without being shot at, basically. But yeah.
That was a problem, right? There was a lot of windows, and there was exploits, there was problems, spawn kills and runouts. And I'm not saying there's no spawn kills and runouts on this map. There is on every map. I try and, every time I've done anything, I'm like, we fixed all the spawn kills, and someone will prove me wrong quite quickly that it's not fixed, which is fine, which is why I love the community, because, someone will do something I don't expect, which is great. But, it has a few issues for sure, but it's, it's like border when you spawned, we put the gates in on border, that run out now, if you want to do it, you can do it. But it's way harder, and there's always angles you're going to get shot from, and most of us, take the game pretty seriously. So when you get shot from that window one time, full well to pre-fire stuff, so it's a learning process. I think every map is.
It also is a shooter game. We're going to have to shoot each other at some point, right? Like, it has to happen.
Sometimes I like people to get away from the spawn point before getting shot most of the time.
I want to ask you about that in a minute.
Not if I can stop it. I think if you're a new player, though, with all the operators we have now, if you were to play old house trying to learn the game, that's probably a pretty rough map, because everyone else knows it so well, and it was so easy to cut it off. So new house as a new player experience is probably a lot more enjoyable. And you get a little bit of time. Like you can make it through one room before you have to be in a fight necessarily. It's not like there's this cutoff where either it felt like on defense when you spawned and the time started, like the prep phase was done. If you weren't where you wanted to be, there was no way for you to get there.
Yeah,
on defense, right?
But there was a lot of crossfire in the original map. Yeah. Now there's a lot of crossfire in this map because a lot of the walls are soft, and there's a lot of interesting use of utility, let's put it that way, because you can make some very long lines of sight on that map, almost side to side, and it's interesting, but there's more places to get into the map, there's more options, there's more ways to actually approach it, rather than and I spawned here and I'm in a choke point. Now there's less choke points. It's more open even for attackers. So you can spread your attack a little bit easier. And for the defenders, there's more options, and even if everything is quite soft, you can have options. Now there's some safe spots which people will find, of course. You always want to have something somewhere where, you can kind of take a breather for 5 seconds before jumping back in the fray. But, I don't defend most of the sites on site. I defend them, pretty well off site from somewhere else, because, that's the way I play. But that map, I believe, kind of pushes people to play a little bit differently, which is nice.
Can I ask you about spawn peaks and runouts and stuff like that? Obviously, the standard spawn peak where someone spawns and is immediately a headshot, that's terrible. You know, you don't want them in the game from a design perspective. But runouts and stuff like that, to what extent are they acceptable when you're designing a map? Is it just ensuring that, okay, they're acceptable, but there has to be risk reward? For example, like Consulate. You're going on a marathon run. It's terrifying, right? But then I think of other maps, like I could jump out in Coastline and I could be back in with an impact grenade pretty quickly, doing something really sinister. So to you, what do you do? Do you intentionally mitigate that, or do you welcome it, or is it like a risk reward type thing? What is your perspective?
It's always a risk reward thing on anything like this. Say kids playroom. If you want to jump out there and shoot towards APC, go nuts. Grief proved the other day. There was a great clip I saw on Twitter, and when he was streaming, he's like, the map designer showed me all the angles. What are you trying to do? And I was laughing so hard when I saw that. It's welcomed, but I don't. Well, not I. Sorry. Don't want it to happen too early. We want you to get away from the spawn. We also want there to be safe routes to the building. You know, I don't want someone to really start a round, have sort of 8 to 10 seconds to get to the building and get shot at, 8 seconds, because then they're just sitting there for the rest of the round, and it can get frustrating. But you'll learn from that frustration, So it's like, I wouldn't say it's welcome. No runouts are welcome, but it's like Zoronic said, it's a shooter. People are gonna do that. Now, trying to make it harder for people to do this is my bread and butter, for sure. I want to make sure that if you're gonna do this, you're either gonna get detected or you're gonna be exposed, and that's what we do. We go through, and the testers in Montreal. I set them off, Yozam, Mehdi, and Kevin. I go, cool, runouts, let's go. And when we're testing, we go, okay, cool, runouts, go. And when you're looking at 10 devs doing runouts, it gets a bit spicy quickly on any map. And it's and you can tell even when we're playtesting internally that when one of the other team is getting a bit frustrated, that's when the runouts are going to start happening, and it happens, and it's the same mentality as any other player, right? It's like, all right, we're down 3-1.
Of course,
you're gonna try.
At least they can blame the map because it's not actually finished yet.
Yes. They can, but everyone with your particular clique always has a bad day, right? You see everyone turns up and someone, one of your players isn't having a great day. They're not throwing the map, but they're having a bad day. It happens, and it happens to us as well. And sometimes it's actually quite nice because we obviously have lots of maps in development at the same time, is to not play it all the time and give it a bit of a break, because sometimes I always use the phrase you can't see the wood for the trees, because sometimes when I'm looking at a map for such a period of time, you can't see what difference the change you've just made has done. But I've been doing this for a long time. I just walk away from it, go do something else, go work on something else, and come back.
Build a train.
Good build a train. Always building trains. And just I come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. If that involves going for a walk or not looking at it till the next day, that's what I do. But that's my methodology, and I've learned over 2 decades of doing this that sometimes staring at it, I know it won't fix the problem. So it's best to leave it. If you want an example of that, there's a great one for the shotgun event in Old Hereford. I worked on that a little bit, and I redid the map with the new destruction system, and I started it couple of days before Christmas. And there's one part that I couldn't figure out because there's a half set of stairs and the tools have changed. I was looking at it for days and it was just driving me nuts. And then just walking away midway through Christmas, doing something else, the answer came to me. It's like, right, that's how you do it. Make a note, because I always have a notebook. Took a note down, and when I got back into the office after Christmas break, it's like, and dunk done, yay! My brain works in a very strange way sometimes. It's it doesn't immediately come to me. Sometimes I need to do something else, like build a train, obviously, and that's when I do my best design work, is when I'm not at my desk. And I think a lot of creative people are like that. Creative people are generally better when they're doing what they shouldn't be doing, but.
I say that to my boss at work. I do my best work while I'm at the pub. So if you could just allow me to be there, well, not right now, obviously, and pay me, yes, please.
One of the things that's always been a great mystery to me, and this, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot here, because this doesn't really have to do with the house rework so much as the old house, but why was there that hole in the garage? You know what I'm like, on the old house, between the two garage doors, there was that hole in the wall where there was like a cabinet, so you couldn't walk in it. It was just a line of sight into the garage. That was not, it would never exist on any real house ever.
It was a blocked-off door.
Was it a door at one point?
It was a blocked-off door. It was like wasn't there a bunch of filing cabinets and stuff in front of it?
There was like tilted filing cabinets, a shelf, and some toolboxes and stuff.
Yeah, it was a door, but they blocked it off. Like, obviously, our visual language for stuff like that is progressed over.
Improved?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, it's progressed. So yeah, it was a blocked off door. I was looking at it, I'm like, I think that's one of the first things I removed when I started working on the map. I'm like, nope, this doesn't make any sense. Goodbye. And that's the good thing, right? With something like House being out for so long, although people haven't really been making content on House for forever because no one really plays it anymore apart from Terrorist Hunt. So actually getting the data of what was wrong with the map and what needed to get fixed was a little bit harder than normal. Doing Canal is easy. There's YouTube videos of people doing it. Theme Park, Oregon, there's people playing those maps. So it was a little bit hard to gather the metrics that we needed to actually go for it. But it took like one meeting with everyone that's been on the team for a while. It's like, right, what are the problems with House? And you end up with quite an encompassing list, that's for sure. And it's my process is always, okay, start at the start, end at the end, go through the list, and things get fixed as a byproduct of redoing the destruction, redoing the floors, moving windows. It gets fixed naturally, which is good, and it's part of the process. And I always find it super rewarding. I also find when something that I've predominantly worked on and the team's worked on, I always find it super stressful, because you want it to be well received and you want people to like it. And I'm not stressed. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm very happy with this map.
Can I ask you a question? Oh, sorry. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just giving a compliment.
Oh, I was just going to say.
No. I'll take the compliment.
You want one
more? We can all throw you a compliment. Beautiful mustache. Now the question. You spoke a bit about data and metrics. Because obviously we are getting a few reworks at the moment. We're revitalizing a few of the maps in the game. So to what sort of data sets do you get to see? Like, do you see where people are dying? Do you see heat maps where they're breaching into buildings? When you look at House and you say, right, we're going to rework this, what sort of data sets have you got there to help you?
For House, there wasn't actually that many data sets for sure, because if I wanted the data, we should have thrown it into ranked for 6 months and just get the data from there to have people make more videos. Because a lot of my research is YouTube, Reddit, go through, and the experience of the team. I've don't see heat maps and I don't see stuff like that. I'm sure they exist somewhere, and I do see stuff from the playtest, like heat maps, death maps. I see full playthroughs from the day playtest. I can go through and look at anyone's like field of view perspective. I can see all of that, and I can watch, and I can click on the death. But this is all in house. I can click on the death, and I can roll the video back, and I can watch it, so I can see how people are playing the map very early on, and
that's cool.
It's pretty fun to go through and see it, and you can see, like, sometimes you see it and you just see lots of red dots everywhere, and you're like, okay, I've could be and chances are when you see a lot of red dots, it's either a line of sight or it's a choke point, and it does help. And as always, it's always the playtests that help. I feel having people come in, and we did have people that weren't professional players come in and play the map, and we had professional players come in and play the map. So we had two sets of data for it. So it was actually interesting, and very early on, the pros really enjoyed it. You had to they were briefed to step back a little bit, not go full ranked competitive on it, but they all knew the map really well, and the feedback is always, it's so invaluable to get feedback from casual players, professional players when we do these things. It's great.
It's amazing how easy it is to jump back into, like, with all the new maps or all the reworks, Oregon, Canal, House. Like, it still feels like the same map when you jump in, but things just got updated and improved. You don't feel like lost. It takes 2 or 3 rounds, and then this layout makes sense. I kind of feel home here again. It's impressive, like, how much you can change and still keep it something you can relate to.
It's a very fine line for the team, especially if we're doing a full art rework on something. It is a fine line to walk to do that. You do not want to break the immersion. You don't want people to not be comfortable with the map, for sure. And that's why sometimes the little kind of tweaks that we do to maps, like cafe and whatever else, like that was it was work. It was still quite a lot of work, but the quality of life changes to that map, I feel, were absolutely great and breathed new life into it. Does it still play kind of the same? Yeah, it does. But some of the problem, or a lot of the problems, got fixed with it. So it's actually, you can get in the building now, which is nice.
It's a much better map, much better, and much more enjoyable to watch as well, which matters quite a lot for maps that are in Pro League, at least.
Yeah, of course. Even though I play tested the map, Maddie worked on that one. I go through, and yeah, you're correct. It's so much more fun to watch now. Because stuff gets stale, right? After years and years and years, little quality of life changes, I feel, is very, very important for the game. And little touches to things, and the major problems, address those, go through. Just fixing runouts, spawn kills, things like that on a map does really, really help it, for sure.
I wanted to ask, like, is it fair to say that, back to the whole ranked versus casual rework, is it fair to say that going into this rework with the mindset of we're not going to make this the most competitive map gave you more freedom when it came to the rework design philosophy?
I still tried to make it competitive. Sorry.
So, okay, let me get to my next part of the question. So there's a bomb site on the middle floor. That's literally, there's a bomb site right next to an exterior door. That's probably not something that would exist on a map that from the ground up you were saying this is going to be the most competitive map ever. Is that fair to say?
To a degree, because there are other instances of that, not so much in the rank pool. There are other places where you can you just vault in a window, plant, get out, and hold it. I don't like that. I do not like the run in, plant gameplay. Most of the maps that I've worked on, if you've noticed, there's not that in them. You have to commit to the room for it. Because you're talking about music room and TV, there's 2 doors, right? and you can easily, one of them has an annex, the TV room has a small alcove where you have to come in, and you could plant in the corner, you could cover it from the balcony, but you need to cover both doors. You also need to cover someone jumping off of the balcony and shooting you from behind. So it comes to a point of that was a fairly conscious decision. I could have completely shut in that balcony. I could have completely closed it, but then it's not going to feel like house anymore. It's going to feel like, a fortress. So there's things you can and can't do, but they're quite hard plants to pull off, because if you're playing those two sites, well, that site, not two sites, if you're playing those sites, you're defending from above. So if anyone's going to try and come in and plant inside that door, if you're playing correctly, you can get them in the head from above, from the ceiling. So, balancing, that's for sure. It's a complete balancing act.
There's another cool angle there. If you get in kitchen, take out the wall and get down below that little worktop, you can shoot through it. You can shoot through it and hit that door with the porch.
Fix tomorrow.
Yeah.
So like, we spent a lot of time on those sites. Obviously, we always do, and it's much like the spawn peaks and run out, or not spawn peaks, but the runouts. It's a risk versus reward thing, right? If you're going to play it, I've been watching and I haven't seen anyone really try and do it yet, because it's so easily covered. Someone's going to do it and someone's going to succeed at it. Of course, you could just smoke plant, but the angles are so tight. If you think about music room, come in, you come up the little stairs onto the balcony, smoke, plant, and then you want to go back because there's a pillar in the way and quite sharp angles for you to actually cover the diffuser. You're jumping straight out of playroom window. As a defender, you're straight out of playroom window.
It's also a little unfair with so when you mentioned like the bomb being just next to an exterior flank, think about how many maps in Pro League that have that. It's almost all of them, except for, I think Villa is the only one that doesn't have an exterior that goes directly into a bomb site.
Canal technically doesn't, unless you create, unless you're talking about the
fair
workspace.
Enough, but the box still kind of counts.
Come on.
That doesn't count as a room. If you want to have that one, okay, but it's not in the pool yet. But Villa is the only one. At least we had in the pool last season. If unless I'm completely messing this up.
Yeah.
Everything else has something directly in.
I'm running my brain as well, going, okay, hang on.
Well, I mean, I would say the Oregon rework, you've got big window upstairs. I guess you could count that.
No, I mean the ones that were in Pro League last season.
Oh.
Like so it hasn't been that big of a problem for competitive, at least. Like at the top tier, most sites, even though you can go from outside and in, it's rare that that's enough. So I don't think that means that much for the balance or the competition of the map. Probably more the fun factor for lower rank. I think that's more where it's at, because something like server on Clubhouse with the breach there is still pretty difficult to attack, even though you have the wall right there, right? And you have a window straight into the site as well. You have it on all the sites on Consulate, like almost. I'm actually pretty sure Villa's the only one.
Well,
that
I mean, you would have to
room.
say, wouldn't you agree? There's a difference between like Consulate upstairs, you're rappelling into the bomb site, or you're jumping off of a balcony, compared to walking in a full size door from ground level. Like, to me, there's a difference there. You know what I mean?
I'd say Consulate is stronger. It's easier because you're on the rappel.
Well, I don't know. You can make arguments there, because think about all the counterplay that you get from running out on that rappel. You know what I mean? Again, a nomad. There's a lot of dynamics that go into that. If you get up on that balcony to jump in projector, then you're now subjecting yourself again to runouts. You're on an isolate. There are nitro cells out there. So I see where you're coming from. That rappel, does offer a defense that walking doesn't. But
I would agree.
To me,
if it didn't show that when you played lobby on that same site, it was way harder to walk in on the site than it is to rappel. Walking into the site does not make it.
If that was true, wouldn't the lobby
favorite.
have the higher pick rate than the top?
It has the higher win rate.
That can be manipulated, but
yeah.
I mean,
doesn't matter too much. I don't think that making the buffer room makes I think that goes into the fun factor just as much as balance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's probably the first thing that jumped out to me whenever I was looking at that map. I was like, whoa, there's a door right here. You know what I mean? I can literally walk in this door and plant. I don't think you have to go around that cabinet, do you? It's just literally walk in and plant.
You can walk in right on. You could plant just inside the door frame. Yeah. But have you tried it?
I mean, I don't know that I've ever actually planted there, but I've obviously played that side a good bit.
There's your homework for tonight. Go and plant, because it's so easily covered from the other doorway. Unless you're being very coordinated, going in both doorways for TV and music room, and then when you're going through both doorways, if the defense is playing correctly, they've got those angles covered from above or from kitchen or from way back where. So and this is what I was saying before. It's always super interesting to see how it's gonna get played, and it takes months before the preferred way of it's always the same. I still watch people playing Canal, and I jump on people's Twitch streams all the time and go through, and it's always interesting to see the different ways people play something. It's so great. It's also a nightmare as a designer because everyone's playing it every which way and how, and you can't cover everything, but it's always really interesting to see, and it does take time. Now Canal, it's been out for a while now. It's starting to settle, and it's starting to, you know how people are probably gonna play it, unless they're quite low level players or they're fairly uncoordinated as a team. It's actually starting to settle, which is really nice. So there's obviously a few curveballs every now and then, but it takes time, and that's the beautiful thing. In Rainbow, we have time. It's the good thing about this project is we're here to stay. So it's great that we have the time to let people learn how they want to play, and every team plays differently. Zoronic will go back into office and pull the world's dirtiest angle. We
never did that.
So it's such a what is it? They said football was a beautiful game. I don't think it is. I think Rainbow's a beautiful game because people just approach it so uniquely. It's refreshing.
So when you make a map and balance and fun and all of these are factors, is it like how difficult is it to make a map that is fun and balanced, and what makes a map fun and what makes it balanced? Because what I generally hear and what I also sometimes do is I will say that this map is a little unbalanced or something, and then when I start questioning it myself, I don't really know why it's unbalanced, because I get to play both sides. I have the choice of operators, different strats, but there's something that sometimes make you feel like a map goes one way or the other when you start. And like as a map designer, how difficult is it to try and not make that happen, even though it probably will?
It keeps me up at night. Let's put it that way. Many nights of lost sleep thinking about this. Now, the judgment people will make very quickly on, very early on with the map is, do they like it? That's the first thing, and we were talking about this before. Do they like it? If they like it, then they'll play it more. Now, why they don't like it? It's always hard, It's I'd love to, I sit down at the events and oh, what's your favorite map? This is this, and they're like, what's your least favorite map? Is one of my other questions, and it's always like, why? And it's predominantly because they've got killed, or there's they feel that a bomb site's completely unbalanced, and you talk to them about the way they're approaching it. I'm like, well, have you thought about this? Because people get stuck in the same mindset. A lot of the time they approach the objective the same way time and time again because they believe that's the way it's going to work. It's not. You have to change, you have to be fluid, and that's something, and that takes time and patience to do it. You have to go through getting killed trying stuff and playing the map repeatedly to actually figure out what works for you, for your team, and however, which operators you're using. And, we have so many operators, you can go through and spend a year just working on, one map and the bomb sites. And kudos to the pros, because that's what they do. It's what they get paid to do, and that's what they do. When it comes to, I keep saying, I'm starting to hate myself for saying it's a fine line to find the fun balance. It's, you work on it, you iterate, you work on it, you iterate, you play test, and then certain things stick because it's fun. Certain things, don't, even though, as a designer, even though you've got these great ideas and you put them in and try them, they don't work, and you have to be adult enough and mature enough to actually go, I really want to do this, but it doesn't work. So you have to remove it. And that's happened so many times on House, on Canal. It's like, oh, let's do this, like the tunnel on Canal. Who wants to play Canal with that full tunnel to car park garage stairs? Like, it was brilliant. It was so much fun to play, but it was so OP, it never stuck. And it was a real shame. And that's the way it goes. So it comes down to a point of eventually it clicks. Now, we've all been doing this long enough to know that what works, what doesn't work. So we already have a pretty good recipe book of what is going to work, what isn't going to work. So we have a good cookbook already. All you do is, you put the you put the ingredients. Thanks, Pete. Sorry, that made me laugh. You put the ingredients into the bowl. You stir it around, and you play with the combinations. It's the way it works, and that's the fun. For me, anyway, it's solving a puzzle. Every map is a puzzle. It always is.
Does it really keep you awake at night, Jeremy, though? Do you honestly, does it stress you that much thinking about this and worrying about, whether you're making the right decisions?
Yeah, it does. I'm not joking. I have a notebook by my bed. And my girlfriend, it drives her mad because I'll wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning because my brain has suddenly digested all the information that's kicking around in it, and then I'll write a note. But the most stressful part is when a map's being released because you want it to be well received, like I said. But like I said, my brain works in pretty strange ways. I like to walk away from a problem and let my brain just compute it in the background. And then when the solution comes up, I just make sure I've got a pen and paper with me or a phone so I can make a note so I don't forget it. Because you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, write something down, you go back to sleep, you don't remember it, which is why I have a notepad. It's part of my process. It's probably not perfect, but it works for me.
All right, so I know that these maps and their reworks are your babies. I'm hearing murmurs from people in the community that they want, House to come into ranked. So let's I want to put you on the spot right here, and you're a big fan of balance. So make the case for why House should go into ranked, and then make the case for why it shouldn't. Give me the reasons why it is viable for ranked and why it's not.
Wow, that's nasty.
That's a dirty one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to make the decision where because if we were making the decision on maps that go into ranked, Canal would be in ranked right now.
As far as Pro League, or are you referring like Pro League?
Pro League, yeah.
Okay,
Pro League, because I'd like to. I just like I'm very.
You want to see them dismantle it, right?
Basically, yeah. It's like being at events and seeing like Villa Pro League. I'm always like even though it's not the first time, it still makes me happy. And I'm still like, my girlfriend's like, what are you doing? Why is the TV so loud? I'm like, they're playing my map. Let's go. I'm always super happy. The reasons why House could go into ranked is because the community will probably want it. That's the simple thing. If the community wants it, then chances are they'll get it. Again, out of my hands, I don't make these decisions. I can't think of any good reasons why it shouldn't go into ranked because I'm selfish, to be honest.
I was going to say that would be the counter, though. That would be if the community didn't want it.
Do you know what? If the community doesn't want it, the community. I respect the community enough that if you know, and I think I've seen hashtags and whatever else kicking around on Twitter for House for Ranked and whatever else, that could be just part nostalgia, because a lot of people have been around on this game for a long time, and it is nostalgia. Now, let's ask a former pro. What do you think House would be like in Ranked, apart from chaos? I think it would be beautiful chaos. And I think that's sometimes refreshing. But realistically, we should let it sit and let it play for a bit. Let people get comfortable with it a little bit more before making that decision, for sure.
The thing is,
I've always advocated for forcing it in. Just force every new thing in, because then everyone else benefits from it.
And it's not got to stay.
The counter argument to that, though, is that when you force a map on people and they lose elo because of it, that's the most surefire way to make them hate it. You know what I mean?
No.
But,
I don't mean ranked. I mean, I think every new map should be forced into competitive.
Yeah. We've had that conversation on here before, as far as we wanted a pro league.
Oh, every map goes pro. Every new map goes pro league.
Yeah, I want that so bad, because then people actually show how it's played.
I'd actually go one step further, but I'm a little bit evil. I wouldn't even let them scrim on it. I would flat out put them on a stage and go, all right, this map's coming out. Not even let them put them on the stage and
$1 million. Play now.
This is the decider for the grand final. Go.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? We just our grand final is going to be held on a map that no one's ever seen.
It would, but that's. I'm not trying to be derisive towards the pro. That's my little fantasy, because I think it would be so interesting putting people on something they've not seen on a big stage. I'm not saying give it to him in finals, give it to him, in qualies as well. So at least they have some time on it. But it would be interesting, because I think you'd have to be so much more fluid in your gameplay, because you don't know what to expect, because you haven't played it for 10 seasons kind of thing. It would be pretty interesting, but that's my own little evil mind sort of.
What a horrible evil thing, but it would be hilarious to watch. I think I would enjoy that a lot. Yeah.
It would be pretty. I think it would be hilarious, yes, but it'd also be quite riveting, because you'd see these professional players, and they are at the top of their game. That's why they're professionals. You would see just like gameplay to another level. I think it would just be wonderful.
Well, Jeremy, seriously, good job on the house rework. Thank you. And pass that along. I know it's not just you. Pass that along to the rest of the team. We really appreciate the work. I mean, the quality that we've been seeing out of the level design team has been outstanding. From the Oregon rework, Canal rework, the house rework, I think we're really hitting our stride here.
I think so too. And yet, like you said, thank you. It's not just the level design team. There's a great team of artists, great sound guys, great modeling guys, great lighting guys. I can't forget Pat. He's bigger than me. He'll hurt me. There's such a good team in Montreal, and actually all over the world, because Rainbow's not just Montreal, but the world team in Montreal, and even the Rainbow team across the planet. We are a big family, and the communication's great. We go through and we look at, I had some great artists on this map for sure. Kajun, Ariel, Eric was on there for a bit. Most of the artists have had their fingers in the map. Everyone's played it. Everyone's given their feedback, and it really is such a group thing. Every map is such a group thing. It's I because I'm English, I always say I, and I get in trouble for that. It's actually we. We have a lot of fun doing it. We have a lot of fun building it, and I'm glad that people seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on and letting us pick your brain about the rework. Hopefully, we'll do it again down the road at some point. I'm sure we probably will if you're up for it.
I'm sure I'm working on something that will interest you in the future.
Eyeball emoji. Eyeball emoji.
I don't like being idle.
Right.
House isn't finished, but there's other things coming, and there's a lot of fun stuff coming for you guys.
Awesome.
We've got the title for this episode. Thanks so much,
thank
Jeremy.
you so much, Jeremy. Really appreciate it. And, I know you're a busy man, so we'll let you get on with the rest of your day. But thanks for coming on and taking your time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll have Jeremy's socials, at least his Twitter down, and actually your Twitch down there below. We'll make sure we link both of those.
But remember, it's the world's most boring Twitch. I'm just building stuff, and I don't talk about Rainbow. I am just building trains. So don't come past for Rainbow Six. I'm building things.
Yeah, if you want to watch Jeremy build trains, and not like small little trains, I'm talking like trains big enough to carry a human. Then we'll have his Twitch down there as well as his Twitter. So make sure you guys follow him on there, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks.
Bye.